Hello everybody. Today I wanted to show you how to use the class website and show you an example of what your interactive notebook will look like for your chemistry class. So the class website is mychemistryclass.net. When you come to the website, this is the first thing you'll see. This is the home page. I have a little letter here from me. I have my contact information at the bottom. On this blue piece of paper here, there's some links to some common places that you'll be going this year, and a reminder that the Zoom link for class is posted on the Google Classroom. I'll explain these links in a little while. Normally I would have a calendar on this orange tab that would show you each month and a quick overview of what we would do that day. Because of remote teaching, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So on the calendar website, it's just going to explain that we're going to use something called a one-stop shop instead, which will be a list of every single day, every single thing we do. And hopefully that will make things a little bit easier having it all in one place. So no real calendar for the year. You'll use this link that I'll show you in a little while. For regular chemistry class, the notebook tab is the main tab you're going to go to. We do an interactive notebook. We'll have a spiral bound notebook that we will take all of our notes in. We'll record all our lab data in. We'll do all of our homework in. It all gets done in this one notebook. If you can't get a spiral notebook for some reason, no worries. You'll let me know. The school is going to arrange some kind of a pickup day where you'll be able to come get one from me. I do have notebooks for people. We just have to wait and be patient until we know which day you can come to campus. On the notebook tab, you're going to see a table of contents here, and this has links to everything we're going to do in our notebook. We're going to have left pages and right pages. We'll number our pages. If you're ever absent one day or you don't remember what we did, or you can't find a paper, or you need instructions, you can come to this tab, this yellow notebook tab, and look at the page you're interested in. If it has a yellow page number, that means it should be in your notebook. It's something that we've done. It should be finished and in there. If it's a blue page number, that means we haven't done it yet. Please do not try to work ahead. I know sometimes people are eager, thinking that they can get ahead a little bit, but realize, things change. I change my mind. This year with remote teaching especially, we have no idea how long things are going to take. If we have technology problems, we might go slower than expected. If we realize a program doesn't work, we may have to kind of change our plan for the week. So I would encourage you to, maybe not work ahead too much, because, what if down here I changed something? I don't want you to feel like you did the work and now you have to fix it. So just kind of keep along with what we're doing in class each day. The labs tab, I know it's not ideal that we won't be able to do physical labs right now with remote learning. I'm still crossing my fingers that we'll be able to come back to school physically at some point and do some actual labs. But this does go over some lab safety. It explains how we would do things if we were in class doing labs. We will still do simulations, or I may take pictures of the lab and give you the data and you can look at the pictures, or maybe I find a video for you to watch. So we'll do as much as we can remote, and we'll just make the best of it until hopefully we'll get to come back and do some real labs. The blue resources tab here has tons of stuff on here. Anytime I find something I think might be useful, I try to put it on here. If you ever notice a link stops working, please let me know. If some teacher took it down from the internet and now the link doesn't work, I can try to find something to replace it with. Up at the top are some handy things, like there's a PDF of the textbook, so it's easy to pull up on a computer. It is a big file, so it might take a while to open. There's some other textbooks linked here. I have a YouTube channel. I'll show you that in a minute. You can find a periodic table. I mean, there's lots of things up here. Graph paper. If you ever want to make a search a word or a crossword, there's a lot of things on here that can be handy for you. On the About Your Chem class, you can learn a little bit about how we do things. For the most part, it should be all the same, even though we're remote. I'm trying very hard to keep things as similar to real-life, normal classroom as possible. I'd like to give you guys the same types of lessons as much as I can, give you the same experience, even if it does have to be through a computer screen. So for the most part, this stuff should apply if you want a little bit more info about our class. The syllabus you can find here as well. About Me. Here's an About Me tab. So I grew up not too far from here in Half Moon Bay. I liked it over there because it was not nearly as hot as it is over here in San Ramon. It gets much hotter over here. I went to college up in Portland, Oregon. Also, much cooler than down here in San Ramon. It rains a lot, but it's lovely. Everything is very green. I really liked it there. I got my master's in chemistry from University of Oregon. After that, I had kind of a break between teacher school and my chemistry school. And I had 8 months off before teacher school started. And I thought, well, what am I going to do for 8 months? And I realized, well, culinary school is 8 months long, and I love cooking, and I love baking, so I went to culinary school. And it was a really interesting, random choice, and I love that I got to do something just for fun to enrich my life that wasn't related to just school or a job. So it's a real fun time of my life that I got to go to culinary school. I've been at Doherty for a long time now. I think this is year 12, if I counted correctly. I am married to Mr. Farmer. He also teaches at Doherty Valley. We have a dog named Penny. We have Harley and Zoe, our cats. And we also have a daughter, Josephine, and our son, Jason. So that's a little bit about the website. Let's go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to show you the things we'll use for remote teaching this year that are kind of specific to this year. We're going to use this one-stop shop Google Doc, and there's a regular Chem version and an Honors Chem version. Click the right one. You want to make sure you're doing the right homework, right classwork. We'll wait for it to load. Trying to be patient with our technology. I have a feeling that will be happening a lot this year. Here we go. So when the one-stop shop opens up, you're going to see a little message from me. I would love it if you would take some time to read it. Link to the class website. Kind of some little, bullet points here. Please read this when you have a moment. It is important information. I want to respect your time and not sit here and read it to you, word for word. So if you could take some time and read it at your own pace, that would be great. Here is a page that has links to some frequently used things we're going to do this year. I thought if you had little icons to remember what the things were and the links all on one page, maybe that would be helpful. Another reminder that the Zoom link is on Google Classroom. My web page is public. Lots of people can use it. It's not just for Doherty students. It's not behind a password or anything. And I did not want to put the Zoom link up there for the whole internet to see. So I do put the Zoom link behind the Google Classroom password, right? You log in there and then you can get the Zoom link. So I wish I would put it on here for you to make things a little easier, but I think it makes sense to keep it on Google Classroom. Here's some information about our interactive notebook. So we would normally get a spiral-bound notebook that has 8.5 by 11 paper. You need the 150 sheets, and that will last us the entire school year. And what we're going to be doing is pasting in any kind of little worksheet we do, or if we take notes in class, we'll do them in our notebook. If I give you a little handout that has maybe like a little summary of some information you need. We'll glue that in our notes. And they've really shown through a lot of brain research that taking the time to do these interactive notebooks and really separating the concept of learning material from practicing and processing it really helps people's retention and also raises test scores. We learn things for longer, and we really internalize and process things on a deeper level. So I figure if we're in a science class, we should use science to kind of dictate how we do things. And that's how we've come to do these interactive notebooks in my class. I will have bags of supplies for people who need it. You'll need things like colored pencils and a highlighter and a red pen, glue. If you can't obtain those for any reason, I'll have a time where you let me know, and then we'll have a pickup day and have them in a big bag for you with a notebook, and I'll get you what you need. Okay? Down here, you're going to see each day, and we're going to see a to-do list and any comments from me. And on here, you'll see the links to the things that you need to do. So here's the first day of school. It'll give you some lists of things to do, things you need to complete. I'm asking if you can print things, go ahead. I'll link them. I'll make sure you can print them if you want to do it on, glue it in already. If you can't print at home or you don't want to print at home, then just be patient and wait for that pickup day, and I'll get you a packet of photocopies. And until then, you can do things on binder paper or do it in the notebook, and then we'll just transfer things when we can. We just got to be flexible and be patient this year, and it'll all work out. What I'm going to try to do for those of you that would like to print at home is for the entire week, I'm trying to combine everything into one single document. So instead of trying to print every day or every other day, you can just print once a week. I set it up to print double-sided, and you can just see, I'll tell you what page it goes on. You can see that there's some things here, worksheet we'll do in class. If you can't print this or you don't want to print this, then you'll just write the answers on your notebook paper. No big deal, just, draw the boxes by hand and just write your answers in. And not an issue. If you want to do that and then pick up a set of packets later, that sounds great. Okay. These links take you to the class website. So if you don't want to go from the one-stop shop, say you don't want to click here, what you could do is just go to the notebook page, scroll to page whatever, page 2, and the exact same document will open. So we have it here, we have it here, you got it lots of places. Some people might want to go off the one-stop shop, some people might want to go off the class website. It really doesn't matter which one, they're going to have the same things for you. Okay? So let's go back. Next, I'm going to show you kind of what the PowerPoint will look like that we'll do in class each day. I call my warm-ups jump starts. I think it's a nice way to kind of jump start the class is to do these little warm-ups. So if you're wondering what jump start means, it just is a word for warm-up. Rather than one giant document that takes forever to load, I decided to break it up into weekly documents, and that should make things a little bit easier when you're trying to load things. You'll just click the link, and it would take you to the week you're interested in. I'm trying to put these little intro slides for each week, just throwing out some interesting little history, teaching you about some of the scientists, or maybe an interesting experiment that was done at some point in history, or learning about an element, just some little enrichment things. When you get onto the Zoom link for the start of class every day, you're going to see a slide similar to this. It's going to give you some general info. It's going to tell you what to do while you wait for me to add people from the waiting room and kind of get everything ready. There will be an agenda. I might show you where something is. I might show you how we're going to set up our notes one day. I'll tell you what the homework is. Depending on the day, we may have some checkout questions using a program called Pear Deck. It's super easy. It's like a polling software. So I can use it to ask you questions, and you'll either use the internet browser tab to type in your answers, or if you want to open Pear Deck on your phone and turn in your answers on your phone, you can do that. And I'll walk you through how to do that. I think it's a nice way to kind of keep things a little more interactive. It's really hard to stop and ask people questions on Zoom, so it's a nice way that everybody can participate without it being me having to call on each person's little, square on the Zoom screen. So hopefully that will be helpful. So that should hopefully be a little overview of the class website and some of the documents we're going to use. I know it's a lot of information. I thought if I recorded this and you could come watch it at your own time, maybe you come back and you rewatch it on the weekend once you've had some time to decompress from the school year starting and all the chaos that's going to be, then maybe that would be helpful for you to be able to revisit it. What I thought I'd do now is I made a sample notebook. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to flip through the pages for the first couple of pages and walk you through what your notebook will look like. So here's my spiral bound notebook. Page 1, you're going to do an all about me assignment. You're going to learn a little bit about me through mine. You'll do yours and you'll share it with me. I can't quite fit the whole thing under the camera, so sorry about that. We'll kind of scoot it back and forth, best I can do. Page 2, we'll take some safety notes. We'll do some questions about safety. Page 3 is some common laboratory equipment in a chemistry class. Page 4 and 5 teach you kind of about how we do the notebook. So we take all of our notes on the right-hand side. This is where we're going to learn all our information. We're going to take notes in a special way. We're going to really interact with our notes while we're taking them. The left side is where we practice. This is where we process what we learn. We're going to do things like creative assignments, writing assignments, drawing little cartoons, quick writes. Maybe I have you do a little graphic organizer. Maybe I give you a writing prompt. Maybe ask you to do something silly, like write me a poem. Just trying to use various parts of the brain, because research shows that if we can involve more parts of the brain, that we will remember the information better. When you're nervous and stressed out on a quiz or a test, your brain needs connections to be able to reach into your brain and pull out the information that you've learned. And if you can store information in different parts of your brain with different types of connections, even when you're in a stressful environment and your body and your brain are exhibiting stress and not functioning at their optimal level, you'll be able to reach that information and retrieve it and answer that question on the quiz much better than if you hadn't done some more creative processing techniques. A lot of chemistry is practice problems and worksheets. That's just the nature of the subject. And so any worksheets that we do would also go on these left side pages, because that is processing when you practice. Page 6 is, here's my example. Yours may not look like this. I did a processing activity, and I did a type of a poem up here. And down here, I decided to make a little crossword puzzle. So you can see I did a variety of things. Here's a lot of ideas. Sometimes people will tell me that if they don't know what to do, that they're stuck, they're not creative, they don't have an idea of, what they could do. Well, here's lots of ideas. And on the back, here's even more ideas. If you come up with something that's not on this list, that's awesome. Just tell me and I'll put it on the list for next year. This list down here has grown every year. I always find something new and interesting to throw on there that somebody else has done. You'll notice that this page has a front and a back. This is what we call a flippy. We don't really have a better name for it. It's not very creative, but that's what we got. We call it a flippy. And we just put glue on the margin, and then that allows us to use the front and the back of a page. So if I ever ask you to make a flippy, you can do that. You can make it flip up, you can make it flip down, you can make it flip left or right, it does not matter. Page 8 kind of explains what the requirements are. I will walk you through those as we do different types of assignments, but please read them when you have a chance. Page 9 here gives you some example rubrics. I am not saying that everything is 3 or 5 points. That's not realistic. But I think these example rubrics give you a really good idea of kind of the categories of the work. Like 0 does not meet standards. I can't grade it. You didn't do it. You know what a 0 looks like. A 1, a lot of things are not done, or they're missing, or you didn't follow the instructions, or it's clear that you kind of did it 5 minutes before class started. 2 is, it's okay. It's mostly done. You didn't follow quite everything. Maybe you left off a couple problems. And then a 3 is, that's great. I would love to take a picture of that. I'd love to use that in my PowerPoint as an example. You did a great job. Everything's there. So it just gives you some general guidelines. Page 10 is what we call Costa's house. There are different levels of questions. Some questions are what we call basic. Some are processing. Some are creating. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 questions are not bad questions. They're just simple questions. It's a definition, or what's the equation, or list these things. So these are not bad. You need vocabulary, you need definitions to start thinking on a higher level. But we don't want to stop at level 1. If all we did was level 1 questions, we wouldn't get very far. Level 2 is when you start to think about things. So you take some definitions that you've learned and maybe you compare and contrast them. That would be level 2. Level 3 is really where you are starting to kind of invent new things or think about things in a totally different way, or you're trying to make predictions. Now that you've learned some information, you're trying to predict what might happen. So there's some sentence starters and some keywords over here. When I ask you to write questions, you can use this to help guide you. Page 11, we'll talk about the different types of notes. Almost all the notes we do are going to be KCQ notes, and I'll explain what that means later. Sometimes we might do other types, but for the most part, it's going to be this KCQ type. 12 and 13 are what I call unit intro pages. So every time we start a new chapter, we're going to have basically a divider that it distinguishes that that's where the chapter starts. You're going to have to do some visuals, you'll list key terms, you'll write some example questions. You do not do this when we start the chapter because you don't know any of it yet. We'll glue them in as a divider, or if you're not printing things or you cannot come get a packet, then you'll just draw the boxes onto your paper by hand. That's totally fine. And then you fill this out as we're learning things. This is not due until after we're finished with the chapter. Page 13, this is called cross-cutting concepts. There are topics in chemistry that are repetitive. We see them repeat in all sorts of subjects, bio and chem and physics and engineering. All sciences have things that relate to scale and proportions and quantity. All science has things that have patterns. So I will give you some of these topics, and I will ask you to fill in things from the chapter that kind of fall into those categories. We make this into a pocket. We're only going to put glue on the edge. If you're not printing things, then just use a piece of binder paper and make a pocket out of binder paper. We can put little things in here during the chapter, extra practice, quizzes, things like that. This is a worksheet. You can see it's a flippy. And here's what a set of notes looks like. When we do KCQ notes, we're going to have a target up at the top in red pen. They have literally shown that our brain responds differently to red pen. Different areas of our brain light up and start turning on, basically. The target needs to always be at the top in red pen. If you cannot get a red pen, then on one of those pickup days, I will get you a red pen inside the material bags. We have a title, nice and big and bold. You can take notes however you want. I don't need them in a particular format. I just need you not to squish your notes all really tight together. Make sure things are nice and spread out. You got some space. Our brain needs some visual gaps in concepts and ideas. So we need to make sure that we're seeing some gaps around key information. Then, either while you're taking the notes or at the end for homework, you need to go back through and you need to add what we call color annotations. So you could use different color pens, you can use markers and highlighters, but you need to add at least 3 different colors to help our brain pop things out of the notes at us. I'm not asking you to do an art project. Please do not get so focused on it looking pretty that you forget the purpose of the assignment. I like calling these annotations because I think that reminds you that they're supposed to be purposeful. So please don't just scribble the entire background one color. Please don't spend 2 hours drawing cute little pictures. Really focus on the intention of this is to help our brain latch on to information. At the bottom, you're going to draw 3 boxes, K, C, Q. K stands for key terms. List all the key terms. C is connections. You can make a connection between something you watched in a movie, something you read in the news, something that you learned in a previous class. Just needs to be specific. Please don't write 7th grade science or biology. Right? Try to make it something a little more specific. Then you're going to write 2 questions that relate to the material on the page. You do not have to answer the questions. One thing that I find just absolutely fascinating is that they've learned that the benefit to our learning, our retention of information, our scores on our quizzes and our grades in our class get a lot of benefit from writing the questions, but you don't need to answer them. So you taking the time to try to come up with a question is what gets you those benefits. That's why you're going to see an improvement in your learning. You can have level 1 questions, but you can't have both of them be level 1. So what is a compound? That's a level 1. It's a definition. I could point to an answer somewhere on my paper. This is a higher level question. Compare and contrast molecules and compounds. Well, I have to know the definition of a molecule. I have to know the definition of a compound, and then I got to put them together and think about it. That's not something I'm going to be able to point to necessarily as an answer. I really need to process it. So you need to have at least 1 higher level question. Okay? So I know this is a lot of information. I know you're getting a lot of information from all your classes. I know that it's going to be a long couple days. We're going to get a weekend soon. You can kind of recoup and breathe a little bit, and then, we'll get in the swing of things. We'll take notes. I'll help you. I'll remind you of what to do as we go. I'll tell you which page we're working on. I'll make sure that we check in and see if anybody has questions. So as long as you're trying your best and you're asking me questions and using that class website, it's going to be okay. And if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat in Zoom. You can raise your hand and ask me, during the Zoom class. You can email me. There's lots and lots of ways to get in touch with me this year, even if we are remote. So I hope you have had a good first day, good second day. I hope all your Google Classrooms are linked and working, and all your Zoom links work, and you can log into everything you need to log into. And I will see you on Zoom soon. Bye, everybody.